Hi friends! Today we're going to be doing 7 super easy vintage Christmas crafts, and they're going to be using vintage wrapping paper or retro wrapping paper that is new. You can buy vintage wrapping paper really affordably online on eBay and Etsy, and I will link that below. They're really cheap, and I also find most of mine at yard sales, flea markets. But if you don't have access to vintage wrapping paper and you don't want to buy it online, you can find really cute wrapping paper that is vintage inspired. This is some wrapping paper that I've had for a while. I got it from Target. They're Russian nesting dolls, which is really cute. And TJ Maxx is known for having really cute vintage inspired wrapping paper. I've actually never been able to find it in store. This is from my mom. She wrapped one of my Christmas presents in it, and I very carefully unwrapped it and saved it. So I'm going to link some vintage wrapping paper and some new wrapping paper down below, and then I'll also put some cute gift tags in there, which you'll find out why we might need those later. Some of these crafts, I'm going to show you the finished product and then describe how to do it and link to blog posts. And then the other crafts I'm going to actually do with you in this video. So let's get to it. The first craft idea is to frame your vintage wrapping paper. This is probably the easiest one that we're going to talk about. All you do is buy a frame. This is from a thrift store, and then you just cut out your wrapping paper. I honestly don't even think I measured the wrapping paper. I just eyeballed it. And the only thing you do is you just slide it on in there. So I don't even have it matted on the back of anything. It's just loose wrapping paper. So we just slide it in there, no problem. Even if it gets a little wrinkled, it's not a big deal. We put our cardboard in between, and then we just slide this back into place. And then you have really affordable vintage wall art. And this is the really easy version, but then you can make it a little more complicated and special by using vintage wrapping paper as a background and then taping on some vintage greeting cards or like the gift tags that I had talked about. You can see this artwork all over my walls. I have them all over the place. And then if you use kinds that can lean on shelves, then you can use it as regular decor on your furniture. And the only thing different about this type of ephemera artwork is I just took tape and I taped these right onto it and created a collage effect. I have a detailed blog post exactly how I do this, and so I will link that below. The second craft we're going to talk about is creating a junk journal. I didn't know about junk journals at all until I joined the vintage community, and they are so cute. If you're into scrapbooking, it's very similar, but just a little more freeform and a little more 3D. This is a junk journal that I made for myself, and it's a pretty basic one. It uses binder clips, which makes it very easy. This is not a Christmas related one, but I just want to show you this as an example. Junk journals are oftentimes used as like gratitude journals, and then people will make like Christmas themed ones, and those can be like about Christmas memories. So like you can put all kinds of stuff in here, like vintage advertisements and tickets. And then I also use a lot of vintage fabric pieces in here. But we're talking about wrapping paper, so I'm going to show you how I used wrapping paper in this junk journal. So this is some happy birthday wrapping paper that I used, and I'll show you how I put it in a junk journal because wrapping paper is super thin and can wrinkle really easily, and we want to make it stiffer so then we can actually use it as a page. So what I did is I just used some double-sided tape like this that you can get in the scrapbooking section, but you can use Scotch double-sided tape too. And I taped it right to a piece of cardstock, and that will make it really thick. And then it's also a double-sided page, which is perfect. I am not a junk journal expert. I'm not even going to pretend to be, but my friend Amy at Kitty Witty Papercraft, she is an expert, and she has a YouTube video that describes exactly how to make this. I followed that YouTube video to make this myself, so I will link that video if you want to try making a junk journal for the first time. Okay, let's do a craft together. So I have a lot of these types of containers. They're like cylinder type items. This is a Trader Joe's candle, and it's all used up. And then I have these type of containers. So this one is a lemon drop container, and I already did the craft, so you can see what the finished product is going to look like. This is a tobacco container, and then Altoid containers also. And then this one is for gummies that help me sleep. And I have a lot of these containers, and I want to find a use for these because they're gold, and so I think they would be perfect for Christmas. So here's the finished product that I'm going to show you, and let's do it together. This craft is going to be perfect for using up tiny little scraps of vintage wrapping paper. So I have this right here that is a perfect scrap size. I have a little Ziploc bag where I save all my scraps for future projects. So if you want to see if you feel like it's going to be a good size, take one of your containers and place it over the item to see if it fills up the whole space, which it does. You can't even see the Christmas tree anymore. And so I definitely think this will be the perfect size for one of these containers. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this right over our area, and then we're going to cut it. Okay, so I put that one on here. So now let's move on to the next little square. Let's do these jingle bells. So we're going to put this right on top of the jingle bells. I think it'll fit really well. And then we're gonna cut right along. This definitely doesn't need to be perfect because we're gonna fix it up at the end. Okay, perfect. Oh, and I wanted to say, make sure that you save these teeny tiny pieces of wrapping paper, even pieces that are super small like this and this one, because if you have matchbooks, you can totally put these over these matchbooks and give them away as a little gift, or you can use them as decor. This one is an actual vintage one that one of my followers sent to me, but you can make your own cute Christmas matchbooks and then display them just by putting on some vintage wrapping paper. Okay, so looking at this, there's a little lip here that goes all the way around, so I'm gonna fit it, instead of around the whole thing, I'm gonna fit it right around that lip so you can see it in this one, that it's not right up against the edge, and I think that looks nice because you can see the gold trim around it. So let's take a look. This is quite a bit too big, so let's just start slowly trimming around, and this is when you're gonna wanna be a little more precise and not cut so, aggressively. Okay, so I think I got it to be just the right size. It's certainly not perfect, but you can definitely see that gold trim around, which looks nice. And a really cool thing is this is a tobacco container, and when I took the label off, it's so sticky that honestly, I can just put it on there and push it down and I know it'll stay. But I wanna show you what to do if you don't have that adhesive layer. You can take some scrapbooking double-sided tape, otherwise some Scotch tape. That would work really well. And you could probably use glue even, for all I know. Okay, and let's lay it right down. It's really sticky. And I'm just gonna do a strip here and a strip here. Okay, we got our tape on. And so then we're just gonna slowly lower this and eyeball it right into place. Okay, and then we have another one of our cute little tins. And so then what I plan on doing with this is I'm just gonna lean it up against some items just like that, and it'll look really cute. Here's that Trader Joe's candle that I did. This is that collage TJ Maxx wrap, and since I like that her coat had a little bit of gray on it, I thought it'd look good with the silver. I did a Santa head, then I did this little tree, and then this wreath. Oh, and then this is the lemon head container, and I actually used a scrap of fabric for this one, and that one turned out pretty good. And yes, the edges will probably fray a little, but to be honest, I don't care. The next craft is going to be how to make your own Christmas present decor. This is the other super easy one. If you know how to wrap a Christmas present, then you can definitely do this. This is an Amazon shipping box, and all I did was wrap it. And I got this idea because I don't know if anybody else has a grandma like this, but when I grew up, my grandma had all these fake presents that she would keep under the tree. And as a kid, you're shaking, you're like, oh man, it's empty. But as an adult, it makes total sense because at least for the first few weeks that I have my tree up, I don't have any presents under there, and it kind of makes the tree look a little lame. And then my grandma would also keep them under there even when she put her Christmas presents underneath, because then it would make underneath the tree look a lot fuller. And it kind of, in my opinion, prevents me from overspending, because a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I want the tree to be filled with gifts underneath the tree, but you don't really need to do that. And if you have have these little fake presents, then it makes it look super adorable and also makes you spend less. And then the other thing you can do is you can actually use these just to decorate in general. So I've done that before where I've put these in my pie safe and then I'll put little candles on top. And then I've also used like long shipping boxes from Amazon and I've wrapped those in wrapping paper and used them as a shelf. I have one of those shelves in my kitchen and I use that as a little riser so that I can decorate with more mugs. But you can do this with any kind of box. Like I have these tiny little pecan pie box containers. I also have this soap from my favorite brand that I use for face wash so I can make a tiny little present. Even pasta boxes would be so cute. If you wrap this up, it would look like a vintage present for, you know, dad. It would have like a tie in it. And then you can even use like jelly jars would be adorable if you wrap wrapping paper just around where the label would go, and like wine bottles and stuff. The options are endless, so think about what boxes you'd like to wrap up or jars. The next wrapping paper craft is going to be making your own vintage inspired Christmas tins. And I showed an Instagram reel how to make these. I will link to my Instagram. And then I also wrote a blog post detailing exactly how to make these. What I did is I saved up a bunch of recyclables over the past few months so that I could make these. So like this is an oatmeal container that I got from Aldi. This one is a Planters cheese puff container, and you can actually see it right here. You can see a little bit of the Planters in the back. Because if you only have a certain amount of wrapping paper, you might not be able to reach the full back, and that's okay. You're only going to face it one direction, and then this is a great way to use up tiny little paper scraps. And then I also use peanut containers. As you can see, this is a cashew one from Aldi. You can also use like Pringle containers and coffee cans. Those work great. So I will link that blog post on how to make them, but it's super easy. All you do is you use tape, and you're going to need scissors, of course, and then you just want to fit it in this little lip here. And then just in between these two little spots here, that's where you put the label or the wrapping paper. And then make sure you wash these out first. I use these as decoration, but you could also use them to put little Christmas cookies in and give them away as Christmas gifts. But be careful, if someone you love has a peanut allergy, don't be putting your Christmas cookies in a cashew container. This craft I'm not going to do just because I already have way too much of it, but the idea is every thrift store has butt ugly records. Okay, this one isn't butt ugly. I bought this because I like that it's purple, but we're just going to use this as an example. So say that you're at the thrift store and you find $1.25 like hymnal record, you know, records that are not very popular. I mean, even at record stores, they have sections where the record itself is all scratched up. And so then you can buy the record for super cheap, or they'll have just the album covers and not have a record inside. So then what you can do is wrap this in vintage wrapping paper, and then you can use that as decor. Let's pretend we're doing that together. So if we would wrap this, then what you could do is you could take some ribbon and tie it around both ways, and then you could make a cute little bow, or buy a really festive bow and then have a cute little gift tag on it, and then use that on a gallery wall display, or you could take poster putty and you could put them up on your actual walls. I just think that would look so cute, but I personally just don't need that in my house right now. But if that would be a good idea for you and you're looking to get a bunch of affordable Christmas decor and spend very little money, this would be a great solution. And the most difficult craft that we're going to do today, but I still think we're going to be able to do it, is going to be Mod Podging vintage wrapping paper onto candles. I've been thrifting these candles for a while, and then also these ones I think are from Dollar Tree, and so I'm going to be putting wrapping paper on these, and then we can use them as decoration. Mod Podge is this type of glue adhesive stuff, and you're going to want to use the matte type, not the glossy finish. You're also going to need a paintbrush, and then you're going to want to use like a paper plate so that you can put the Mod Podge on, and then you're going to be able to spread it around the candle. It took me quite a while to thrift these. I've been thrifting them since the summer, so I will link some good candles that I think would work well. Okay, so here is what some of my candles look like so far. This one is actually a magazine ad. It's not a vintage one. It's a new cover that I found. I found the magazine for like 15 cents. And then this one I used tissue paper actually, and I think that really turned out well. It's got little gnomes on it, but the tissue paper, you can see it wrinkles more. So I'm hoping that the wrapping paper will be just the right consistency. I've used a lot of vintage wrapping paper for projects, so this one I'm going to use this retro wrapping paper. So let's use this giant candle for this big collage print. So the first thing I'm going to do is flatten this edge. Like I said, this is from ripped off an actual gift that my mom gave me. So I'm going to make this a straight edge, and then I'm going to save this excess for other projects later. Okay, so also I'm lazy. I'm not even going to take the sticker off because who cares? You're not even going to be able to see it. We want it to not go edge to edge, I think. I'm going to lay it like this with a little bit of overlap. And then I'm going to eyeball it where I think I want it to be. So I think I really want this joy to be visible. So, and I like this Christmas greetings as well. So I think I'm going to lay it right here. So let's just start cutting. We're just going to eyeball it and we'll fix it later. Okay, now that I got the basic size, I can start cutting away. I don't know how long it needs to be, so I'm just taking a guess. Okay, let's wrap it around and see how long it needs to be. Hey, I eyeballed it just right. So we're going to cut it out right here. And again, I'm going to cut off this little scrap and save it for later. Okay, we're done with this. Now let's take a look. So yeah, I want it to have a little bit of the lip of the candle. So we're going to have to cut maybe half an inch or so off. I got to decide what I want to cut away. I really like this little family, so I'm going to cut off right up against this edge. You can tell I don't do anything precise. I barely ever measure anything. Okay, I cut a bit more off, and I did have to cut some on the bottom, so I had to sacrifice this child. Sorry, little kids. But I really like how this looks. It's got the Christmas greetings and then also little people here. And then it has about maybe like a 1/4 inch here showing, which I really like. So then we're going to take a piece of newspaper and we're going to lay this down, something that you don't care about if it gets wet with Mod Podge. Then we're going to squirt some Mod Podge on here. And we're going to cover this whole entire thing in a thin layer. You kind of got to be quick about it because it will start to roll up on itself. We got the whole thing covered, so now we got to wrap it around here. I'm going to kind of eyeball it here. Okay, so I have it with, there's a little bit of lip showing on each side, and I'm going to hold it down, and then I'm going to start slowly rubbing it, pulling it apart so that it doesn't wrinkle. And then we're going to roll it around. Ooh, and you can see it's starting to go up here too far, so I'm just going to slide it down while I can to get it in the right position. Okay, this looks good. Now let's go on the other end. I'm pulling it kind of taut, not enough to rip it, but enough that I'm pulling out the little wrinkles and bubbles in it. Okay, that looks really good. Yeah, this works so well. This is my first time ever doing this with wrapping paper, and the wrapping paper worked the best, and then so did the glossy magazine page. The tissue paper was definitely harder to do and pretty risky, but that tissue paper was honestly so cute, I had to do something with it. So we're making sure that this is nice and flat. If you happen to have like a corner that's peeling up, you can want to peel it back and then put some Mod Podge on, but I think I got the ends good enough that I don't need to do that. You can put another layer of Mod Podge around it. I don't know if I will. I'm going to wait like 15 minutes and let this dry and see how it looks. While we wait, I'm going to do this yellow one, and I like these deer a lot, and I think that would look really good with the yellow, so I'm going to cut out this section. By the way, if you don't want to eyeball it like me, an easy way to tell how long this is going to need to be is you can measure the circumference. So this is going to be about 9.5 inches that I'm going to need. But then we want to layer the wrapping paper around, so we're going to do 10 inches. And then, of course, you can measure this way too. So this is 3 inches, so I would probably honestly do 2.5 so that we can see that little bit of the candle. Just did this small candle. It looks so cute. And I have to say the small candle was way easier to do than the big candle, because the big candle I had to really worry about wrinkles, and the small candle it was a lot easier. Like I don't even think I had any wrinkles to begin with. So if you can help it, using a smaller one is a lot nicer, but the big one, I mean, obviously it looks amazing. So I'll try to link a different variety of candles so you can get whatever you want. I'll try to do different colors too. 10, 15, 20 minutes has passed and I am not going to do Mod Podge over these. I am happy with exactly how they turned out. I'm not going to waste my time putting more stuff on. Oh, I also wanted to point out that like this magazine cover, I cut this out along the characters. And so you could totally cut out anything you want out of wrapping paper and you could do like cute little Santa faces sporadically all over. And then I did have this pink candle and I was like, oh man, I don't have any pink wrapping paper. And then I remembered that I have some fabric that has pink in it. And so I thought, let me try Mod Podging fabric for the very first time. And it went really well. It's quite wet here because some of the Mod Podge leaked through the fabric, but I think it'll dry and be no problem. If it doesn't dry and it doesn't look good, then I will put a layer of Mod Podge over it. But overall, I think it looks really cute. I did fold in the edges so that it won't fray, but then I didn't account for the fact that when I folded it in, it didn't overlap, but that's okay. You won't see the back anyway. And these are my finished candles. All right, those are all the crafts. What did you think? Did you get any good ideas? Which ones are you gonna try? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching my video, friends. Merry Christmas!